Back in the spring of this year on my big 5-day trip in the Pelican Punt on the lower Cumberland River, I happened to come across an abandoned kayak, half sunk, nose down in the mud near the riverbank, right by the main Cumberland River channel. Didn't have time to mess with it on the trip because I was right in the middle of a big trip. I had more important things to worry about. Well, I drug it up on the bank and sort of crudely camouflaged it with the intention to come back for it when the trip was over. And that's exactly what I did. A week later, I came back and the kayak was still there. So I began my recovery operation, which really just consisted of getting all the mud out of it so it wouldn't be so heavy, so that I could tow the thing back in and bring it home, get it cleaned up. Well, I got her all cleaned up, and in this video, the abandoned, neglected sun dolphin sails again. I'm headed out on the lower Cumberland to spend a night out in the woods on the backwaters, and this is a little bit of a challenge because the sun dolphin is a very small kayak, only around 9 foot overall length. It is far from a touring kayak, but I want to see if I can cram enough camping gear in this thing to be able to spend a night out in the woods reasonably comfortably. I've definitely taken some austerity measures, but I think I can haul enough stuff to get me out to my campsite and do what I want to do.
Soon may the wellerman come, bring us coffee, tea, and rum. One day the tonguing is done, take our leave and go. At a fair in the sun of town, her hair was blonde and this was around. Soon may the wellerman come around.
Alright, I've got the sun dolphin all cleaned up, and I've even had it out on a little test run. She paddles just fine, and you know, it has some wear and tear, shows some signs of its age, but honestly, this kayak is in quite a bit better shape than many rentals that I have seen or paddled before. So I'd say I came out all right on this deal. So now it's time to have a little fun with the old Green Machine 9-foot sun dolphin kayak. Tomorrow morning, I'm headed out on the lower Cumberland for a little overnight jaunt in this kayak. The challenge here is that this is a very small boat, really not fit for camping or cruising at all. It's just about 9 foot, just a wee bit over, and it's about the smallest kayak that an adult would want to paddle, and it's definitely not meant for camping or cruising. It's just meant to really go out for a few hours or for all day at most. So that's the challenge here, how to cram enough gear to sleep out into the sun dolphin. And I think I'm figuring it out, but I've had to get my stuff down to the bare essentials. I'm not even gonna sleep in a tent. Instead, what I've got is a USGI poncho that has grommets all the way around the outer edge, so you can rig it as a lean-to shelter or a plow point, or I could just wear the poncho sort of over my sleeping bag. So with food and water, the gear that I've put together weighs maybe just a hair over 50 pounds, and you can compare that to what I took with me on the big 5-day trip in the Pelican Punt, where I had probably over 130 pounds of gear, including food and water, you know, which was no problem for that big 16-foot Pelican Punt. She can carry the extra weight just fine, even considering her relatively low freeboard. But for this little kayak, the weight adds up fast and it's gonna affect draft quickly. So obviously the more you load it down, the lower she's gonna sit in the water, and the more potential there could be for getting swamped or just handling really poorly. So let me show you how I've got this thing loaded out right now. I think I've got it balanced pretty well. All right, what you see here is pretty much all my gear. I've got 2 dry bags. This one contains my sleeping bag and poncho, which is both my rain layer and my shelter for the night. That one's pretty light, and then this one is quite a bit heavier, and it contains my battery bank, fire kit, and all those little camp items, plus my clothing. So I've got a merino wool base layer, pants and shirt, quarter zip, and a marmot fleece, synthetic fleece, and a hat, and some good wool socks. So I've got my sleep system here in the stern, and I'm gonna have to come up with some sort of new line because these old ones that are on here are pretty sad. They would probably get me by, but they're pretty degraded. I don't know how much I trust those old lines. And then with all these camp items, this dry bag I'm gonna push all the way under the bow past the foot pegs, and that fits perfectly. So now I've got my Aldi mattress Thermarest knockoff, and this I can actually stuff back in the stern because there's just a little bit of a gap here between the seat and the sides of the hull. So I'm gonna push that all the way back, and it doesn't go far enough that it's gonna get lost. I've got 2-gallon jugs of drinking water plus these 2 canteens. So what has worked out really nicely here is these gallon jugs just fit in this little pocket on either side of the seat here. So I'm gonna have one on each side. Just stuffing it right in there. And then this is my little cooler tote for a few refrigerated items, food and soda water. It's not loaded yet, there's nothing in it. But I'll probably just keep that between my legs, and these canteens can go back here in this little pocket, or at least one of them can. I've still got space in this little pocket right here. Got some tent pegs back there for my shelter as well. So I think it's gonna work out, but of course with a boat this short, it's really important that weight is balanced evenly throughout the hull, that you're trimmed pretty flat, and that you're also not sitting too low in the water. So we'll have to see what she does tomorrow morning. Should be interesting, should be fun. A night out on the lower Cumberland in a kayak found in the lower Cumberland. All right, it's early in the morning and I just got to the campground, and I'm about to launch the green machine if I can get all my gear jammed in here in a reasonably organized fashion. Just got started from the campground, and she is definitely riding pretty low in the water. Not surprising. Then again, maybe a little bit surprising. I didn't think a mere 50 pounds would affect the kayak that much, would affect draft that much, but then again, it's only a 9 or 9.5 foot boat. It's kind of the smallest kayak that can really carry an adult. Probably has something like a 200-pound weight capacity, so I guess that does add up. I'm headed out to a little cove, not going real far today, probably just a mile at most. Just want to find a good campsite and get set up and enjoy the day. But yeah, we're riding pretty low. The deck seam is actually just barely in the water, but what's nice is it's quite a bit more stable like this. Just don't have much freeboard, so hopefully we don't encounter any kind of a sea. Out on the big end of the lake now, and I just have a short hop to get over to my cove. Still pretty calm out here. I think I'm definitely dragging the back end of this thing. She's loaded down pretty good, but you know, it's still not bad to paddle at all. Definitely feels a lot different from my heavy wooden boats. Pretty easy to drive along, even being overloaded, because obviously a plastic kayak is just ridiculously light, especially a small one like this. But on the other hand, it's so short that you really have to keep applying power, because it starts to slow down and almost come to a stop as soon as you let off the paddle, which is a big difference from my wooden boats, especially the big 16-foot Pelican punt. That thing just wants to glide, even though it does take a little more effort to get it up to speed. Once you get that Pelican punt going, it just wants to keep moving. If I was traveling any real distance today, I would definitely shuffle around some of my gear and move some weight to the bow, because the stern's dragging pretty bad, I think. But I'm not going real far today, just enjoying a casual night out in the woods. So I think we're gonna make it, I hope. You know, it really is kind of amazing to me that based on the condition I found this kayak in, it must have sat there half sunk, but still pretty visible by the riverbank there for quite some time, which is a very high traffic area. You saw in the recovery video that Ingram barge passing by. That's just right there by the main Cumberland River channel. And so you know there's constant boat traffic going by, but yet nobody wanted it for whatever reason. And I can't understand that. I see the stern of a kayak sticking up out of the water, and I'm thinking, river treasure, man. You know, I gotta check at least to see whether it's junk or not. And maybe that was the issue. Maybe everyone just assumed it was out there because it was junk. And you know, a lot of times you do see junk boats abandoned in the lake, oftentimes on purpose. You know, old fiberglass boats that have degraded or are damaged or just unwanted. You find some junkers for sure. But I've also found some perfectly serviceable craft, like this old Sun Dolphin, which of course doesn't have a huge amount of monetary value, but it's definitely serviceable, and I'm having fun with it today. Poor boat probably thought it had met its end, but oh no, she is back on the high seas. Back on another adventure. I'm coming up to the cove now, where I'm hoping to make camp. There's a site on a point sort of back in the cove that I remembered coming across long ago that looked like maybe people had camped there. It's at the end of a pretty rough Jeep trail, if I remember right. That's where I'm thinking I'm gonna set up, but you just never know what's gonna happen. Sometimes places are not like you think they are, not like you remembered, so we'll just have to get back here and see. Looks like somebody's jugging out of a pontoon right here in the cove. Actually, no, those are commercial fishermen. Looks like they're gill netting for Asian carp, most likely. All right, I'm about to land on shore here at this point way back in the cove and check out this campsite, see if it's actually what I remembered. I'm definitely gonna have to carry the gear a short ways uphill to get up there, but we'll see if it's worth the walk up there. So I was originally thinking I would set up camp just over here on the point in the middle of the cove, sort of at the back of the cove. I went and scouted it out, and there is sort of a clear campsite there. Hasn't been used in a long time, but it's pretty overgrown, and it's also kind of a long walk to haul all my stuff up there onto the ridge where it's level. So I got back in the yak and paddled the banks a little bit, and now I'm just opposite of that point, and I found a nice, relatively clear level spot here just up on the gravels on the bank, and I'm good with this spot. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up. Gonna rig my poncho as a lean-to style shelter. Gonna string a ridge line between two trees here, and this is all gravel, so I'll have to stake out the two lower grommets. Well, not stake them out, but actually tie them to a heavy piece of driftwood or something like that. This is only my second time ever sleeping out in an open shelter like this. So not a tent. Wasn't able to fit the tent and my usual sleep system into this little 9-foot kayak. So I've got a more compact Aldi camping mattress and a USGI poncho that you can rig as a lean-to or a plow point. So I've taken some austerity measures and I'm not going to be as comfortable as I normally would be, but that's part of the adventure. All right, this is my home for the night. You can see I don't have a lot of headroom. I pitched it out pretty low because the whole idea is this thing is just to keep the rain off me if I need it. And tonight rain isn't forecast, but I'd rather not get soaked. Lows around 60, which is pretty warm. That's really nice actually. The wind's blowing, I might get cold, but shouldn't be too bad. That's all a part of it. And actually, this thing gets a lot lower into sort of a hunker down mode right now. I've got it in, I don't know, let's call it front porch mode or something, so I can sit under here on my Aldi mattress if I want to. Front porch mode. Got this little stick just giving me a bit of extra headroom there. And if I wake up and it's pouring down rain, I'll pull the stick out of there to have a little bit better shelter. Actually, what's probably going to happen is this stick's going to fall in the middle of the night and startle the wits out of me. Here's a look at the Aldi random aisle camping mattress. Basically a Thermarest copy. I think actually the United States Infantry uses some pads pretty similar to this. You'll see them at surplus stores sometimes. So far so good. It's a lot thinner and quite a bit narrower than the big Thermarest base camp that I'm used to, but I think she'll get me through the night. I guess we'll find out. Adventure Ridge. That's the stuff, man. That's what a serious outdoorsman uses. Adventure Ridge from Aldi. And no, I'm not sponsored by Aldi, but I'm open to it. Especially if they bring back the Braunschweiger liver sausage. They discontinued it, and so I'm not on good terms with Aldi right now. One thing about these ponchos is that it does have a hood, obviously, so I want to make sure rain's not going to get in there. And honestly, as long as you have it laid over and kind of shingled, it'll probably be all right in most conditions, but I'm thinking it might be a good idea to twist it off and kind of cinch that line down, and I think she should be pretty watertight. Got the Sun Dolphin pulled up in camp. One thing about minimalist kit, it does save you a lot of time in setup, which allows you to do more of the stuff that you come out here to do. In my case this time, just taking a walk around the woods, checking things out in a new area. Man, it is dry. So dry this September, as it often is. Encountered some toads and a snake. I think it was a black racer, non-venomous. And that guy looked thirsty to me. But you can just tell from the leaves on the ground and all the brown leaves shriveling up on the trees. It is bone dry in these woods. The trees are ready for some rain, and so am I. Hopefully October will be wetter, as it usually is, and the wetter it is, supposedly, the more colorful the leaves, and that seems to hold true. Well, the sun is going down over the lower Cumberland. It's way too dry for a campfire tonight, but it's not too dry for campfire songs. Soon may the wellerman come, bring us coffee, tea, and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Met a fair lass on town, her eyes were green and her hair was brown. Soon may the wellerman come around. So one thing about sleeping in a little bit more open shelter like this, you are more exposed to insects. And I've had some ants crawling around and stuff, but shouldn't be too bad because I'm on the gravel here rather than in the weeds or on a bed of dry leaves. But I've had my sleeping bag rolled up at the top, zipped up tight and rolled up just to keep any bugs from getting inside it throughout the day here. And then when it's time to turn in, I'll just unroll it and crawl in there. Got a pack of coyotes back there, maybe in the next holler or a couple of draws over from here. Added some security logs there on the open ends of my lean-to. Has nothing to do with hearing a pack of about 20 coyotes. Nothing to do with that. That did not affect my decision to add some stout logs on the ends of my shelter, preventing any four-legged animal from having direct access to me. Coyotes were not a factor in that decision. I just want everyone to know that. I'm not afraid of the coyotes. I just felt like improving the shelter. That's all it is. This Aldi mattress actually isn't bad. It's honestly pretty comfy. Right now, the only problem is I am getting a few mosquitoes in here, and it's still too warm to get in the sleeping bag or really cover up very much at all, so I'm just kind of getting bit a little bit right here. But as the temperature drops, that should suppress the mosquitoes. It usually seems to. They mainly come out right at dusk like this. Well, I survived the night under my poncho shelter, and it's definitely a little more adventurous way to camp. It honestly wasn't too bad. Probably the worst thing is just being exposed to the bugs. I'm sure I had all manner of granddaddy longlegs, spiders, who knows what, crawling over me from time to time last night, but What really annoyed me was just the mosquitoes. There weren't a lot of mosquitoes, but I would occasionally have one or two marauding mosquitoes pass through, buzzing right beside my ear. Well, it is early in the morning still. I've got plenty of time to do whatever I want today. Don't have any specific plans, but just gonna enjoy the morning and get some coffee going. It's way too dry to make a fire, so no cowboy coffee like I usually make. Instead, I've just got some higher end instant coffee, which will be just fine. I'm just gonna mix it up cold here, little cold brew. I've noticed in some of my live recordings out in the woods, sometimes when I get to tapping my foot, you can hear that carpet of dry leaves on the forest floor, and it sounds like a shaker sometimes. So I'm gonna see if I can get that effect going on purpose. Let's get some percussion involved. I've got a pile of leaves right here. See if I can get a little shaker sound.
Me and Lem Briggs and old Bill Brown taking the load and going to town. Old Jim Dog, darned old cuss, well, he just naturally followed us. So we drove past Sam Johnson's store, a pass of liquor, throw him out the door. Jim Dog hid behind the box, and all them fellers were throwing rocks. And every time I go to town, the boys get to kicking my dog around. Makes no difference that he's a hound, you gotta quit kicking my dog around.
Quit kicking my dog around with leaf percussion. I kind of like it. Now on the left foot, I just need to get like just a piece of wood to stomp going. Well, not that long ago, the little sun dolphin was nose down in the mud. But now she sails again, proudly sails the Cumberland, and I think she's definitely served her purpose on this outing. She got me and enough gear to spend a night out here on the backwaters, out in the woods. And that's kind of what I wanted to show with this video, is that you can spend X amount of money on canoes and kayaks or any kind of boat and on outdoor gear, but you don't have to. You don't have to spend a lot of money. And really, whatever boat gets you out here is a good boat, even if it's just the most basic possible plastic kayak like this old Sun Dolphin. And you can still find older recreational kayaks like this for sale, listed, by individuals for private sale on the internet. You can find them locally. Around here, you could get something like this for around $100, I think. Of course, the price of everything is rising, but you can find something like this for a very reasonable price. If you're lucky, you may even find one abandoned on the riverbank somewhere, but probably not. In my case, I think that was just a matter of probability, a matter of me spending so much time out here. I'm bound to come across things like that eventually. And this is actually the second kayak that I found. I still have the other one. I think I've mentioned that in videos before. But I love my wooden boats. I love that aesthetic and the whole feel of using a wooden boat and having that connection with the past and the way that people used to get on the water. But I'm not a snob about it at all. Whatever boat gets you out here is great. It's really not about the boat. It's about the water and the woods and getting out here and enjoying it and experiencing it.
In the morning light by the riverside, rolling out the main and the spars and the lines. went running from Dover way, and now we're paying out the anchor on Terrapin Bay. Spirits running high, river keeps rolling by, full sail set to fly, and the river keeps rolling by and by. In the evening light, when catfish bite, flake out the main and furl it up tight. A guitar's picking out a sailor's tune, and everybody's dancing by the light of the moon. Spirits running high, river keeps rolling by, full sail set to fly, and the river keeps rolling by and by.
Well, that's about all I've got for you from the Little Green Sun Dolphin. Moral of the story, if you have an old boat like that, don't be thinking you need to wait around to get a better boat. Get out there and use what you've got. Don't forget to check out my growing library of small boat plans on cumberlandrover.com. I do appreciate your support and everyone who does support the channel by purchasing those plans. They're all very affordable, and all the information is there that you need to build some of my designs. And one last thing before you go, the song. Did you notice the song in the outro montage there? That is one of my originals, and I've got a million more where that came from over on my new music channel, Cumberland Rover Music. That will be linked at the end of the video as well as in the description. I am regularly uploading original songs, music videos, live recordings, and even songs with a homemade instrument. My homemade 3-string banjo. It's a kind of a improvised banjo with the body being made out of a $3 steel cake pan. Some people like the sound. It has kind of a unique sound. So I'll give you a little taste of that before we head out. But remember to go check out Cumberland Rover Music. I am desperado for subscribers, just trying to get the channel going.